South West devolution bid. We then, once that debate is concluded, we deal with all elements of the MTFP, from capital investment programme, revenue budget, overarching approvals, robustness and fairer funding. And then the third element, I would suggest then we have a separate debate on the county plan. Does that sound sensible to you, Chair?
That is extremely sensible, thank you.
So I rise to proposal 3 items. I believe Councillor Siggs will second. Thank you so much, Chairman. So, Chairman, if I can start off with the heart of the South West devolution bid. Chairman, I'm extremely proud to present the heart of the South West prospectus for productivity, which is within Councillors' papers. A prospectus that, once approved by this Council and its 22 partners, will be sent to central government to start our devolution negotiations. The devolution plan is focused on asking central government for more powers and responsibilities in relation to a region-wide infrastructure plan, a productivity plan, skills, business support, employment, health integration, and funding to go along with those ambitious plans. Somerset has so much to offer, and with or without a devolution plan, we will continue to increase the number of jobs and productivity of the county. However, we are stronger together with our Devon colleagues, our local enterprise partnership, our clinical commissioning group, and our national parks. Together, we can maximise the opportunities, we can maximise the investment, and maximise prosperity for Somerset residents. You will see that we've highlighted the golden opportunities for Somerset and the heart of South West area. There are so many good news stories, we couldn't fit them all in, so we focused on the work we do in Somerset and Devon in nuclear, aerospace, data analytics, rural productivity, and health. Central government has asked for proposals on how the new powers and responsibilities will be administered, and I'm sure that will be a matter for debate, first of all with central government, but then also in this chamber here. Effectively, there are 3 options how this plan could go forward if approved by central government. They could say you can remain as you are, as a loose organisation of local authorities and public bodies. You can come together as a combined authority, a panel to sign off on the decisions of this deal, or you could have an elected mayor. The 23 partners have chosen the combined authority approach. They wish to formalise their relationship, but not perhaps go too far. I'm happy to endorse this approach. I'm minded that government may try and suggest another approach to us in relation to the elected mayor. As I said in answer to the question earlier, decisions like that will come back to this chamber. The final plan, when approved by government, will come back to this chamber. So what we have today is, in my view, an ambitious and exciting document which sets out that we want more productivity, more infrastructure, more responsibility. We're not going to do it at a cost to this authority. It needs to be cost neutral to this authority, and we need government funding to come to attach to it. Chairman, I only want to give a brief introduction. I understand that there could be elements which members would like to debate in more detail, and of course I'll try and answer any questions that I can. I will just say I'm sorry for this. It's a document which I went through as I lead the leaders group that have drafted this document. I went through line by line to make sure all 23 leaders were happy with the document. And I really hate saying that it's not something which I think we can suddenly start, I propose this, I propose that. I'm sorry. I think any views you have, I want to take forward, because I think there will be a phase 2 devolution, and I think those are the views we need to take forward to that in a timely fashion and put them into the pot at that stage. But at this moment in time, I'm sorry, if there are any amendments, if I amend and every other authority amends, we're on version 12B at the moment. We're on version 12B. We'll be on version 36 by the time we finish. So apologies in advance for that, Chairman.
Any questions on paper A? us feel that the document perhaps could have been braver and a little bit more ambitious for our local area. But I do appreciate that trying to get 23 council leaders to agree to almost anything must be a little bit like herding cats. And so we are where we are with this. It's unfortunate that council as a whole was not involved more in the build-up to this. And I hope that will change now the document is with us. And I hope that we will also be given the opportunity at various stages, not just coming back to this chamber, but to have an input into the way it develops. As the opposition, we are at this moment in time minded to support this document and moving on to the next phase. However, John and I had a discussion last week, and for us as a group, I think the sticking point is the elected mayor. Because I don't see that an elected mayor for Devon and Somerset, for Frome to Saltash, is in any way, shape or form a good deal for any of us. And whilst that is not on the table, we're minded to support John and the other leaders in this document and their plans, but as soon as the mayor becomes a reality, a suggestion, looks like a good idea to somebody, I'm afraid we will at that point have to rethink our position. But currently we are happy to support this paper. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to answer that question before we have a second question?
Yes, no, thank you ever so much for the comments, Jane. Yes, apologies again. Breakneck speed. We all came back from summer. The government said we want expressions of interest by September. I called in all the local authorities in the southwest area for a meeting at Dillington. That was the nucleus of this bid. 23 of those authorities came together. It was breakneck speed. We did bring the expression of interest to full council, I believe, in November. Herding cats. Yes, I agree with that comment. It has been challenging, but we are there. We are there with this document. Happy to endorse councillor involvement. I completely understand where Jane's coming from in relation to the elected mayor. I'm not in favour of an elected mayor. I've said that publicly. What I think will happen is what's happened in other parts of the country, where government have basically almost tried to force an elected mayor on certain regions. And whereas I think Ross will probably, I think we were at the same CCN meeting last year where all the local authorities, shire authorities said, we're all in it together. No elected mayor. There are some breaking of ranks already, which makes it kind of difficult. What I would say is that we'll come back to this authority for final debate and sign off. And if government wants an elected mayor, well, they better make it a damn good deal for this county. So you can say, well, I can see the financial benefits. If they just want an elected mayor based on this deal, then I'm sorry. They need to make it worth our while and give us something to debate. At this moment in time, I'm really happy with the combined authority approach. I think it's absolutely fair and as democratic as we're going to get. Seeing as we have some, by the sounds of it, binding support, I wonder if I could get a named vote on this, on the devolution issue. And I'm sure 10 members of my side will stand to support that. I think it's great that we show that we're all together in relation to devolution. Thank you.
Have a named vote. You were next to ask a question.
Thank you, Chair. Page 741. Could you confirm the statement is under key outcomes? 79 new homes and a new garden town in Somerset. Is this correct?
Have you moved on to the? Have you moved on past devolution? Because we're talking about this. Tell me what that is. Oh, it is under devolution. Okay. What page?
741.
Oh, 741. If you want to look it up.
Yes, I can confirm the numbers in here have been tested, retested independently, verified, and to the best of our information, the housing needs has been put in. And yes, I have said that I want it in this document because in our vision document, in in relation to a garden town. So it is in both governments.
Chair, can I come back, please?
Oh, sorry. All those won't be in Somerset. I must hasten to add. Sorry.
I do have another point to make, if I may. This is based around this figure that has been given by the leader. Births and deaths in Somerset for the first time in this decade, births have exceeded deaths in Somerset for the first time in a decade. The same applies to Devon. Yet our population continues to rise. 179,000 new homes for families were created. 411,700 new residents. This is based on the criteria of 2.3 people per household. And these figures are available on the Somerset Intelligence website and also on other sites. But it doesn't stop there. Those who die in Somerset and Devon will leave 12,000 vacant homes each year. These homes will have a new family, which will create 1.3 new people. This will add another 15,600 new people each year, 234,000 in 15 years. The intention of this policy is to increase the population of Somerset and Devon by 645,000 people in 15 years. That's 100,000 more people than live in the whole of Somerset today. Given that our population has been rising with our birth rate and our pay scale is around about £18,000 a year, how are all these extra people going to improve our economy? Thank you.
John Osborne, you can answer that very complex question.
Thank you so much. Hope I did it all. Yes, of course. It's called a prospectus for productivity. The key thing that we want to produce is more prosperity for Somerset residents, more jobs for the Somerset residents. We want more businesses to come to Somerset. So if we're going to create new jobs, we are of course going to need somewhere for them to live. I hear what you say, and I'm really pleased you've gone into the details on the population statistic. Let's be clear though, this is a deal for Somerset, Devon, Plymouth, Torbay as well. They are substantial and large areas. They will all take certainly housing and economic growth. How will we pay? Well, more council tax will come in from new homes, and the government has promised us full business rate retention. So every new business that we get into Somerset will also basically provide funding for this council to provide its core services. So this is our outline plan on, like I mentioned before, figures which have been tried and tested, and this is what we will now present to government and say, look, this is what we think we need for a more sustainable economy. We need to punch above our weight. We don't do so well compared to other areas, not just Somerset, it's the entire southwest. We need to punch above our weight, and this infrastructure plan, the productivity plan, would allow us to do that.
Thank you very much. Ross Henley, I believe you were next.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Broadly in principle, I agree we need to go ahead with this, and as John has said, he and I have been to several CCM meetings in London where this agenda has been talking about. I'm very, very concerned for the same reasons Councillor Osborne is regarding the elected mayor part of this, that all counties were very much against this proposal and Derbyshire not seem to have been pushed that way. And I'm concerned that the government is not going to give up on this agenda of elected mayors, and they will try and push us down that line. I'll return to that at the end. Can I say, my one concern of this is, I'm prepared to accept this in principle to go forward to the next stage, and there's lots we need to talk about. I think that has been very scant opportunity for members of the opposition benches to contribute to this process in drawing up this bill. I think it's been very much cocooned amongst the leaders and the local authorities and the 23 partners as well. Can I say though, my one concern is something I will not support, is if we are asking for further government powers to be sent down to Somerset and Devon, just as an opportunity to slash those services quicker than central government is doing at the moment. I mean, if you look at the 6 golden opportunities, I mean, numbers 1, 2 and 3, our productivity is too low and growing too slowly. Our labour market is limited in size and skills levels. Our enterprise and innovation performance is inconsistent and needs to improve. Well, who's been running this council for the last 7 years? Are we seriously asking the government to hand over powers to an administration which has clearly failed and is admitting it's failed in its own report it's submitting to government? It's beyond parody, it really is. I'm extremely concerned about this. I would actually like to see if there's any support to strengthen the motion which has been put forward and a named vote by the leader, for we can actually enshrine our opposition to an elected mayor for the combined authority and actually set that up as our motion today that we support going forward to the next stage with an amendment that we do not enshrine in our actual council policy. We do not support an elected mayor for the combined authority of Devon and Somerset.
Giles, can you answer that question?
We were doing so well, but there we are. I'm glad that Ross agrees in principle with the document, and we share the concerns over the mayor. I don't think I'm breaking any confidences here, but out of the 23 leaders sat in the room when we signed off this document, 22 of them said we do not want an elected mayor. So we have said that in one voice. We have gone with the combined authority approach. Apologies if you feel members haven't been involved. Like I did say, it has been breakneck speed, but it did come to November council meeting. We have had a members' information session. We have had various information sent out. But this is what I said earlier. This is phase 1, phase 2. Take on board that, and we can move at a better pace, and certainly allow for those contributions to be in. I hear what Ross says in relation to an amendment and proposal. I'm not going to do that at this stage. I'm not going to support that at this stage, because I've been very, very clear throughout. I'm not going to stand for an elected mayor, and I think that 22 out of 23 authorities. So I don't really want any amendments to the document.
Thank you, Chair. Devolution. Lot to be answered, a lot of questions. Just read one statement. This was made from the Communities and Local Government Committee first week of this month. It stated that devolution proposals, this is not specific to Somerset, but they stated that the devolution proposals were rushed and shaded. What type of comment is that? No clear and measurable objective. There are some figures, but I'll come on to them later. No communication with local communities. I've had some of my constituents come up and say, what's the cost going to be? No idea. The draft proposal stated that there were 80,000 additional jobs. Wow, now that's more than doubled to 163. The quoted GVA on the draft document stated that it would be £80 billion a year. That's now gone down to £53 billion a year, 27 billion loss. The growth that they're quoting, and I take my figures from the Marchment Observatory, Exeter University, over the last 14 years, the average growth has been 2.3% a year. You're saying it's going to be 5% a year. I question these figures. The heart of the Southwest, again, it's blown up here as all there, a good organisation, and yet it ranks 38th out of 39 on many standard measures of innovation and investment. I am sorry that I do not think I will be supporting these proposals. And what concerns me very greatly is on the recommendation that it goes, the devolution comes back. I've lost my page now. But it quite any deal would be subject to further approval by council and or cabinet. I'm assuming then that the deal will be subject to approval, and that could be just a cabinet decision. That's what it states in black and white. That gives me a great deal of concern. There are many other issues, but I know we've got a busy agenda today. It's just too much to go through today, but I will end there.
Is that your question then? Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, for the first time and effort you've gone to go through the document. And I'm disappointed that you feel you can't support it, but there we are. I'm happy to sit down with you and go through your reasons, obviously outside of this meeting. Just responding to a few points, I don't think we can say this deal has been rushed. Initially, we were hoping to get a document out by December. No, we have made sure we've taken the appropriate amount of time to present something which was realistic, that's agreed by the partners. So I think we've taken the time appropriately. I mentioned before in one of my answers to the questions, totally support public involvement, and I will be doing that through the learning, listening, changing exercise, which will start in just a few months' time. As I mentioned before, yes, there were some numbers which changed. When we did the expression of interest, it was all internal work. Like I said, we sent that out externally, we got it tested, we challenged ourselves again, and that's why we've come up with the revised figures. And the final point is, I've said it before, and I'm happy to say it again. The deal that comes back from government, will be a council decision.
Thank you, John. I have two speakers now that have identified to speak, and then we should be going to the vote. So the first one is John Powell.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple of brief points, really. Firstly, I sit on the Somerset Growth Board, and the evidence that's been presented to the Growth Board clearly indicates that the South West has a 9 to 10% lower productivity than the rest of the UK, and about 25% lower productivity than our major competitors. So we do need to do something about that lack of productivity or lower productivity, and it's not about people working harder, it's about working smarter. And the only way to deal with that is investment in our infrastructure and in our businesses. The point was just made that how the South West let has not been very successful in getting investment. Well, nothing could be further from the truth, because the Heart of South West let in Growth Deal 1 had £320 million worth of investment, which was the highest in the country. And in Growth Deal 2 it had another £62 million worth of investment, which again was the highest award in the country. So the Heart of South West let has been uniquely successful in getting investment into the region, much more successful than any other let in the country. And if we're going to see this region deal with its productivity crisis, which it's got, then we need to continue getting investment in, that we can invest in infrastructure and into businesses. And it is clear from the government that the only way that we're going to get that investment is through a devolved devolution bid, which has been approved. Without a devolution bid, I think we can all say goodbye to any further significant sums of money to the local enterprise partnership, and I wholly support this paper. Thank you.
Is there a comment you want to make, John? No. We'll move on to Mike Rigby.
Thank you, Chair. Can I thank John for the work that he's done on this? It's clearly a lot that's gone into it, and in a fairly short space of time. I appreciate that doesn't always mean that we've been able to be consulted as perhaps we might have liked. I think it's an opportunity that we've got to take. I do have some concerns about how it will pan out in practice, but I think there'll be further opportunities to look at how that works in the future. So I will be supporting the proposal. Just a couple of points though, Chair, if I may. In the recommendation 1C, that any deal will be subject to further approval by Council and or Cabinet. John did just say a moment ago that it would be Council, so I'll just seek clarification on that, please. And then finally, John did mention just now that he wouldn't stand for an elected mayor. I just wondered if you could have that doesn't mean that it doesn't want only guarantees of representation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. As soon as I said that, I thought that could be taken two ways. Certainly, Somerset County Council will not be supporting an elected mayor. We've said that before. I've said it on the Beauty. And could Beauty Somerset please tweet a little bit more context? Because I'm just checking on their previous tweets. I've said before, Somerset County Council doesn't want an elected mayor. That should really be the end of the debate, to be absolutely honest. What I've seen when I've mentioned before, Derbyshire and others are breaking ranks, is that government have come to them with alternative offers. And it's only right and proper for you to, make that decision and end full council. If we say, here's our deal and we want, X billion, and government say, we'll give you Y billion more, that's a decision for you to make whether you want to do that. But it will come back here, and so I don't want to tie any of your hands, but certainly I wouldn't be voting for an elected mayor. That sounds a bit dangerous either.
Chairman, can I just then say, can I propose that we amend that recommendation to take out and or cabinet, so it's just it will come back to council.
Happy with that, then.
Thank you.
Now, these last two have just indicated, so Mr. Tansel, will you be very brief, please, because time's...
Okay, thank you. Questions just been answered. Thank you.
John, then, would you just indicate the very last moment?
The questions just been answered.
Okay. Right, we have a name vote. We have a proposal from John Osborne, a seconder from Harvey Six. Oh, you would like to come back? So sorry. Do please come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I think we need to be very clear, and I wasn't one of the odd one out of not wanting a mayor, by the way, as a leader of another council. But the elected mayor, I think people need to understand it's not a mayor of everything. It would not be a mayor running all the authorities. And I don't want the job either before anybody asks. But I think before anybody gets too heated about it, they need to really understand, look at the Manchester model, where the elected mayor is only one of an executive council and doesn't have all powerful. It's not the George Ferguson model at all. I do sympathise with our neighbours to the north, especially in Baines, where they could actually have 3 mayors. Because they can have a mayor of Bath, a mayor of Baines, and a mayor of the West of England, which will be an interesting phenomenon. Clearly the government is keen on the mayors, and we have to realise that, as John has highlighted, the prize has got to be worth having. We're not going to sell out, we're not changing the minds of anything, but we really do understand that £1 billion or more of investment is something we would have to really demand of government, that they understand how difficult it is for even us to look at an elected mayor. Nigel Pearson mentioned about the challenges on population, and I'm delighted with the figures that he quoted in some ways. Demographic challenge is great for the first time that we've heard our birth rate has exceeded our death rate, because clearly, perhaps that's also because longevity at the other end is helping. But it leaves a demographic challenge which we in the Southwest cannot avoid. Productivity, as was mentioned by Ross, has been low historically. I hate to tell you it's not all our fault. Actually, in all the years that his gang were running this place, it was no better. It is historical. For over a century, the West has not produced productivity. The select committees say an awful lot of things, and Alan Dimmock quotes a particular one. Likewise, a number of the figures. Figures have changed, but it was fairly selective use of statistics, and I would suggest that we all remember the adage about statistics and lies, but I wouldn't want to challenge that. John Parrott was issued a clear warning that if we don't take opportunities, then we will actually lose on opportunities. So it is important that we get the support of this council to take it forward. Thank you. I support the motion and ask for the second, for the name vote.
Very much, and I now hand to Julian Gale, who will now read out the names.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So just to be clear then, the recommendation set out on the schedule is It's been amended by the leader with the removal of the words and/or cabinet from point 1C. So just so you're clear about that. And as I read out your name, if you can indicate please whether you're for or against the proposed resolution. Mr. Atkins.
For the motion.
Ms. Bound.
For.
Mr. Brown.
For.
Mr. Burridge-Clayton.
For.
Mr. Coles.
For.
Mr. Davies.
For.
Mr. Denby.
For.
Mr. Dimmock.
Against.
Mr. Dyke, I don't think he's here. Mr. Edney.
For.
Mr. Fothergill.
For.
Mr. Fish.
For.
Mr. Gloak.
For.
Mr. Govia.
For.
Mr. Green.
For.
Mrs. Groscott.
For.
Mr. Hall.
For.
Mr. Ham.
For.
Mr. Healy.
For.
Mr. Henley.
For.
Mrs. Hill.
For.
Mr. Horsfall.
For.
Mr. Hunt.
For.
Mr. Huxtable. Mrs. Lawrence. Lieutenant Colonel Lahadi.
For.
Mr. Lewis.
For.
Mrs. Locke.
For.
Mr. Locke.
For.
Mr. Lumbridge.
For.
Mr. Napper.
For.
Mrs. Nicholson.
For.
Mr. Knoll. Mrs. Oliver.
For.
Mr. Osman.
For.
Mr. Parham.
For.
Mr. Pearson.
Against.
Hazel Price-Sankey.
For.
Mr. Redmond.
For.
Mr. Rigby.
For.
Mr. Ruddle.
For.
Ms. Shortland.
For.
Mr. Siggs.
For.
Mr. Townswell.
Against.
Mr. Benham.
Against.
Mrs. VJ.
For.
Mr. Wallace.
For.
Alan Weathercott.
For.
Danny Weathercott.
For.
Mr. Woodman.
For.
Mr. Walker Adams.
For.
And Mr. Yeomans.
For.